It is astonishing, isn't it, really? A man stripped of every honour that wants to find him, yet somehow still sheltered behind the walls of Windsor Great Park for another year. That's the news that's just come out. The question is simple: how did this happen? The answer is far more complex, and it tells us a great deal about privilege, the Crown estate, and the peculiar limbo of Andrew Mountbatten Hyphen, Windsor. First, the legal mechanism. Andrew holds a long lease on Royal Lodge, a lease negotiated 2 decades ago when his public reputation was intact and his mother was alive. That lease entitles him to give 12 months' notice on surrender. He exercised that right on the 30th of October. As soon as those papers had been signed, the countdown began. Bureaucracy, even royal bureaucracy, ticks on a set rhythm. The Crown estate cannot simply change the locks because public sentiment has turned. Second, the state of the house. Royal Lodge is a decaying mansion with enormous repair needs. Andrew spent millions on refurbishing it years ago, but a property of that size needs constant investment to avoid sliding into disrepair. The Crown estate now calculates that the house requires such substantial work that Andrew will almost certainly receive no compensation at all for giving it up early. A final insult: he leaves in humiliation with no payout. Yet that same state of disrepair slows down the transition. Before he departs, a dilapidation survey must be completed. That alone is months of paperwork, estimates, legal reviews, and architectural assessments. Third, the politics. The Public Accounts Committee has smelt blood. Royal leases will now be scrutinised in a way they've never been before. A peppercorn rent on a mansion held by a disgraced royal is not a good look in an age of fiscal stress and collapsing trust in Westminster institutions. MPs want to show that royal privilege doesn't operate without accountability. They are ready to ask awkward questions. They might even invite him to appear. The spectacle would be dramatic, but the committee has no power to force him into Westminster Hall. He can, and likely will, refuse. He's already shown that capacity with respect to the United States. Meanwhile, the king has his own strategy. Andrew is to be removed from the Windsor orbit entirely. Sandringham is a chosen exile, not because it's kinder, but because it's private. No public funding, no Crown estate arrangements ripe for inquiry. A house on the far edges of that estate has been identified. It must be secured, repaired, furnished, and staffed. Even disgrace takes time to relocate. So we're in an absurd interregnum. Andrew is unwanted at Sandringham this Christmas for fear of embarrassment. He's no longer part of the public royal family for fear of embarrassment. Yet until the lawyers and surveyors sign off, he remains in situ, pacing the corridors of a lodge that symbolises everything rotten in how royal property has been handled. Of course, there is the question, raised, I think, by Jeremy Vine today, that it's not impossible that Andrew is a sort of scapegoat for all the others on the Epstein list. The presidents, the senior CEOs, and so on, who don't seem to be spread across the newspapers and the media in the same way that Andrew Hyphen has been. This saga, it isn't to exonerate Andrew in any way. It's what about the others? This saga has exposed the strange dual status that Andrew now embodies. He's both a private citizen, of course, and the most controversial dependent of the monarchy, too diminished to appear on a palace balcony, too protected to be treated like any other man who happens to live next door to a chapel used by senior royals. His stay until next autumn is not a royal favour, it's the ghost of privilege, embedded in ancient leases and slow institutions. But the public will see only this: a man whose name is synonymous with disgrace, still sleeping in a palace while others struggle to heat their homes. In the court of public opinion, Andrew Mountbatten Hyphen has already been evicted. The law and the Crown estate are simply taking much longer to catch up.